Well, hello. This is the BFC Member Chats, and I am here for the first one officially with Nancy, which I'm so excited she's agreed to be my first guinea pig. And I told her I only start with those I feel most comfortable with, and she's been with me for so long that I knew she
Oh,
would be a really safe person to try
oh,
something new with. So, Nancy, thank you for being with me. And as we
sure.
talked about, this is just an opportunity to have really honest conversations about your journey. So why don't you just tell us about yourself? Your journey to surgery, why you consider
Okay.
surgery? Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me. My story is, everybody's got their own individual story, but uh, currently I'm retired. I was a nurse for 40 years. And so, it's really nice to be in the retirement phase of life where you can do the things that you've postponed or weren't able to do. And my journey started where I was in a very hectic life. My life was way out of balance. This was 10 years ago in 2014, January, and I was starting to have health issues. The stress was really getting to me with my job. Had a lot of responsibility, and I love responsibility and challenges, but my body was saying, "You're doing too much." I wasn't sleeping very many hours. I was starting to put a lot of weight on, and so my blood pressure was starting to go up. I was having a lot of problems with GERD. Knees were hurting. All those symptoms. And being a nurse, I've seen it over and over again, including with my own family, where you start out with this, and one med leads to another med, and pretty soon, patients or my family are bringing in suitcases full of meds, to try to control the symptoms and avoid heart attacks, strokes, diabetes. So I knew that I was headed down a road that I did not want to be on, and I had a choice. And so I started exploring with my primary doctor what were my options. And one of them was certainly bariatric surgery. And at first, when I heard even the word, it scared me to death. And because I realized it was a really big surgery and also is a big commitment. And I started looking at all the options with it. I went to their support group. I looked at a lot of different things. I actually, as you well know, being bariatric dietitian, it's a rigorous, usually rigorous interviews and exams from many other people, not only emotionally as well as physically. Met with a dietitian, reconstructive surgery, all those things. And so it's pretty daunting. And it took me about, I'd say, 5 or 6 months to go through that whole process and to really decide if I really wanted to do this. And it was important to me to have everything, all the ducks lined up, all my options, what would be the outcome of this, and have the support systems in place. That was critical to me in order to do this because it was so scary. Did that. I made the decision. I made a real big commitment to myself, a lifetime commitment that I wanted to do my life different. This next chapter of my life was going to be a healthier one and much more in balance than I had ever had. And I really felt good about that. And I had my family right there with me saying, go for it. They were really good, and my doctors and all of the medical people. Of course, you always have skepticals. You have family members that say that. You have colleagues that say that. Oh my gosh, why are you doing this to yourself? And I had to just close out those negative, it was their opinions only. And I went with a leap of faith that this was the right decision for me. And it was. I'm fast forward 10, actually 11 years. And I joined your group when you first started it. And it was really a good place for me to be because what I found was preoperatively, I had a lot of different resources. And I was meeting frequently with a dietitian and I was going to the support groups post op. I had a gastric sleeve. And I started to realize afterwards, after 6 months, those support systems weren't available to me like they were before for a lot of reasons. They have other people to have to look through the pre-op and the immediate post-op. And so I was looking and I found yours on your website, that you were starting your business. And it was a lifesaver for me because I was looking in the library, I was looking at talking to people and everything, and no one had the resources or could talk to me. And, my doctors didn't know. I mean, the bariatric surgeon, they do the surgery, but they don't have time for any of that. So it was really life changing to have those resources for me as well. And as time went on, and you go through that honeymoon phase, and you're feeling so good because it takes a long while to get the weight off, and you've adjusted to what you're eating and stuff. I was feeling really good about myself. My knees stopped hurting, my GERD stopped. All these things that I've been, I call them mini stressors. And I had just retired, so I let go of all of that stress. And I started redefining my life. And that was so exciting. And I have done that. I started working at Guide Dogs for the Blind, working and training little dogs that will guide people with visually impaired people. I started doing photography. So all these things in my life, I started being able to do more with my friends and my family. And I felt like it. My self-esteem was good. My self-image was much better. And I was like, I've done this. I'm doing this. As time went on, as you might guess, and there was plateaus all along the way too. You don't lose it all in one day, that's for sure. It's a baby step process. I I truly believe that it was the stuff ahead of the surgery that made the difference. I started doing your 5 pillars before I had the surgery. And I incorporated it as habits, and I didn't realize how important that was post-operatively and years down the road. And every time that I get a plateau or I feel like I'm failing, and I don't like to use that word fail, but you start to feel that way because life is a challenge with its big roller coaster. I say you have to put your seatbelt on. I truly, and that's not with any bariatric, and that's just life in general,
Right.
and all the things that go with it. You really and truly need something to anchor yourself. And I'm an emotional eater. I admit that. And so what I did was I created those habits before the surgery. And when I get into those states where I don't feel grounded or anchored, I look back at that and I hold on to that. And that's what keeps me, okay, you can do this. And then when you have put together challenges for us, or like the 10 habits or the pillars, I go back to that, or the cheat sheet where I have ideas of choices for proteins, because sometimes you just get tired of eating the same thing. And variety is critical to making this a successful thing too. We all get tired of just eating chicken or tuna. Um, and so incorporating these things has helped me so much in maintaining. I've never gained all my weight back. And I started at like 250. I consider that a really big success.
Two. Yes.
Big. Now,
Yes.
I'm not the weight I was, 6 months after that surgery. And I've
Yeah.
never had any other bariatric surgery. And as time goes on, weight has come on, but not as much. And recently, in the last year, my primary says, let's put you on Ozempic. So I'm on Ozempic. And I can't tolerate a high dose because it makes me very hypotensive. So I'm on a low dose, very tolerable with symptoms and side effects. And so I'm on my way. And so I'm still able to do all the things that I love. And I happen to have a love of exercise. I always have. I was a tomboy. And so exercise was no longer a big deal for me. When I did bariatric, it was very exciting because I was starting to physically be able to do it.
Yeah.
And before I couldn't do it. My knees hurt too much. And with the weight I was carrying, it was just too much. I would get out of breath. So exercise has always been easy for me, and that was an anchor for me. Get on the treadmill, get out and walk. And since I'm a photographer on the side now, I go out and do nature walks. So you're doing something you love, you're taking care of yourself. And so what I'm saying is everything that you taught us with, taking care of yourself, you incorporate it into your life. And it no longer is, I have to do it. It's, you just naturally do it. I naturally take my vitamins every morning after I eat breakfast. It's just not a big deal. I have certain set times I set for my water or any kind of hydration. Even if I'm out doing something else, I'll stop to do that because I know that is something that I have to do. So no longer, and I made the decision when I first did this 11 years ago, I was not going to be a victim. I was not going to be somebody who said, you have to take care of me. I made the decision, this is about me taking care of me. And my health is the highest priority of anything I do. And actually, for all of us, and as a nurse, I can tell you firsthand, our richest asset. It's not money, it's not a materialistic thing, it is our health. If we don't have that, there's none of this other. You can't have any of this other. So I knew right away I had to incorporate this. That attitude and that positive thinking of you can incorporate these new changes in your life has made a huge difference for me. And what I will tell you is an interesting thing. I have become a role model, even though I've not professed myself as that. People come to me, or I'll be on a picnic with friends, and they'll go, "How is it that you can go to all these outings with all this food, and yet you still bring your own food, you do your own portions, you have it in little containers and everything, and you're happy as a lark?" And I'm like, it's just not a big deal to me. Or they say, "How can you go to a restaurant or a buffet and all of these people are eating and you're not eating but just a small amount of food, or you're taking home most of what you ordered?" And I said, you just get a mindset, and actually it feels good. You're
Yeah.
in control of your decisions on this. And yes, some days, okay, you have a birthday, you want a piece of cake, you have it, but you have to incorporate what life's got there for you and do that what is right for you that moment. And what I really liked working with you and your whole philosophy, you're not judgmental. You don't make people feel bad about themselves. What you're trying to do is explore with that person, that individual, what is it that you can shift or do differently or try differently, like with different meals, with different recipes. You've created this environment of community. If you're someone who doesn't have a lot of support systems, that is really important because it's very valuable to be in a group where other people are having the same kinds of experiences or different ones, but they need to share them. And so for me, that's really wonderful. I'm a kind of a loner. I won't lie to you, but I feel like that's just who I am. And I feel though that the community is there for me in a different way. Like I go out with my friends to picnic or my family. So I've created a different life for myself. And I can't tell you, it's never been a mistake. I did the right thing for me. My gut told me, do this for yourself. I have never looked back. And that I'm not lying. I think it has been rocky at times because things get in the way, stress, other people get sick in your life and you're taking care of them, or you get sick and you feel really bad, like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And then you say to yourself, but look what you've done. And then I
Absolutely.
start looking, and you have anchored us in looking at what are our successes, whether
Yes.
they're small or large. And I mean, 11 years ago, I could never have considered going to the Amazon zip lining with a small group of 8 people in the very remote area of the Amazon in Peru. To me, that's like, wow, I never thought 11 years ago I would ever walk 5Ks. I do. So you set yourself up for all these little goals. And they're challenges, just like you set us up for challenges when we're working with you and your company. And I think that's really valuable. I really do.
I love all of this. Yeah, I think, with this 10-year mark that you've been along with me for all of this, I think it's
That's
so
right.
fun to hit a milestone and to spend a moment and reflect because it can be so easy to to hit a milestone and think, oh, but I wish it was more, or I wish it was further. I think I could have done more. Kind of that glass is half empty
Yeah,
mentality.
yeah,
But wait a minute. When I think about where I started this journey, and when I think about what I've been through or what I had to overcome, right? Because I think, Nancy, you think about we went through the pandemic. You
I
remember
know.
when we did
Yes, I
we
do.
we were doing I mean, we had like our members playlist where we were all trying to
Yeah,
like add songs to
you
pump.
needed all that. People were really, they were scared. We were all
Yeah,
isolated.
we're
People
stuck at
weren't
home.
working. It was
Yeah,
very, very hard and very stressful for people.
very stressful. I mean, certainly we
Mhm.
all know that there was a lot of weight gain happening nationwide. But
Yes,
this was, here we are, a community focused on eating healthy after bariatric surgery. And it was, that was just, I was thinking, as I hit this milestone, I'm thinking back on those things and I'm finding these old pictures. And we would have like Motivation Monday and Pump It Up Tuesday. And
we needed that. Everybody did.
we did
No
what,
one wanted to turn the news on because everything was pandemic. So
yeah,
it was too scary to even turn on the news. So you needed that. And those of us that are bariatric patients, I mean, there's no turning back. I mean, and we've got other family members that are eating potato chips and, cookies and all that stuff. And
right,
so you're sitting there watching and you're stressed. If you're an emotional eater,
right.
boy, does that can trigger you. And all the salt,
Absolutely.
those chips.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I get it. So you've seen it all too. You've gone
We've had,
through the,
yeah. Because no one has the crystal ball. So you like you said, you do all those pre-op visits. It's like a part-time job.
it is, it's
Like,
daunting. It
yeah.
is. You almost get so scared you think if it's this big a deal, I may pull out at the last minute. Seriously.
Oh, truly. I mean, I wonder what the percentage is of how many patients really do get to that date and double
I I think
double
we're after
check.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I don't know after going through all of this, right? Because it's been
Yes.
so much. So yeah, and you don't have the crystal ball to know what's going to come after that. I mean, no one does. So, I mean, you've shared a lot of these things, but what do you think has surprised you most over the 11 years about yourself and maybe what you overcame that 11 years ago you wouldn't have ever thought that you would have?
Well, I think just keeping the weight, maintaining the weight where I'm not back at zero again, where I'm back at square one before surgery. And I think, I'm very proud of this, and that is I committed to myself. No one else committed. I'm from Texas originally. That's why I have an accent, even though I've been 40 years in San Francisco. Basically, as Texas girls say, you pull the horns of the bull and you go. And I mean, that's how I felt about it. And I knew that it was going to be quite a ride. Maybe not as much as I realized, but have no regret. And I think so. Learning that about myself, and also after feeling so good suddenly,
Yeah.
you are able to do more, and you feel so good about yourself. You're more confident. Even confident in the sense of if you're gaining weight, you're more confident on how you can manage this, the baby steps with it, and not get so overwhelmed that you just say to yourself, like I used to say, my little voice would say, you know what, you're failing with this, so you need to stop and just eat, and give it up. And then there was always that little voice of other friends and stuff saying, oh, just give it up. This is ridiculous. You need to eat more. So
I think that's such a great point. I know it's been a minute, but when you reflect back on, the 11 years ago, something that was most surprising is just losing the weight and keeping it off, right? Because
Yes,
when you're going to a journey of having a surgical treatment to manage obesity and get off all these other medications and manage, I mean, all the conditions that come with obesity, right? So I want to
yes,
manage all these things, get my life back so I can, move these knees around and do the exercise I want to
yes,
do.
yes,
But you try so many other things and you lose that confidence that I can, whatever I do is going to keep the weight off. And so I see that all the time that certainly in that first year, there's that fear like this isn't going to work
right.
because it never worked before. So,
Exactly.
right. So somewhere along the road, your confidence did start to build like,
Yes.
oh, this is working. I do know what to do. Even if I do see some rebound weight come back on,
Right.
I've got it. I can handle this. I know what to do. Do you
Yes.
feel like there was a time frame where it shifted from this fear that it wasn't going to work to confidence that I know how to handle this?
Yeah, I think probably about the second year, because I was really grounded on what I had to do. And I will tell you, I'm one of those probably outliers, but I still track. I still track all my food in my Fitness Pal and have since before I had surgery. And
Awesome.
that's an anchor for me because I can look and see, okay, well, you went over a little bit here with the carbs. You didn't eat quite as much protein as you needed. So it's that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I would say for me, it was about the second year because, the first year, just there's so much coming at you and your body's changing so dramatically. And of course, all the compliments you're getting, people going, wow, you look great. And you're now down to a size in clothes. And I love clothes. You're like, how can this even be? And so it makes a whole different thing. The second year is you start getting into, okay, life's coming at you. Now, how are you going to do this? Your family wants to go on vacation. I started doing some contract work, and so I was traveling. And second year, you're like, uh-oh, how am I going to do this? And I just said to myself, well, you can do this. Okay, these are the things you can do. And so I started bringing everything with me, of course, or stopping at the grocery store as soon as I got to wherever it was I was doing some work. And my colleagues and everything were like baffled, like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm taking care of myself. And that's what's important here. And you can eat or whatever you want. We'll go out to eat. I have it all managed. Don't worry about it. So it's interesting because people start to worry about you, and yet you're fine.
I
You're
love
fine.
that.
You
So much
incorporate it.
to yourself, like your self-talk to yourself is, oh, how am I going to do this? No, I've got this. I can do this. But
Yes,
then you've got this other, these other voices coming in like, what are you doing? And you have to tell them,
exactly.
I've got this. I'm fine.
Yes, yes. And I'm not a victim. We're going to do all the things that we need to. It's just I have to do it in a little different way. And I don't make a big deal about it. Just like
Yeah.
if I go over to somebody's house, I don't assume if they're cooking dinner that they're going to have everything that I need. So
Yeah.
I bring things and I bring things for me and I bring things for the group. And I'm fine with that. And
Yeah.
I will tell you back my second year, my son's a filmmaker. And so he wanted me to cook. I like to cook. And so I cooked for the film crew in Austin, Texas, and I would never have been able to do that. And people were worried, oh, you're so thin. I don't know how you're going to do this with all this work. And I'm like, I got this. I'm gonna, and I did it, and it was so
I'm
fun.
going to go.
Yes, don't get in my way. It's gonna happen. So I really believe you have to surround yourself with people that are positive
Yeah.
and you turn off the negative things
Yes.
because the things I face now are, oh, even if people don't say it, you've put on some weight since you had your surgery. Was that worth it? And instead of me hearing that voice, I turn it around and say, you know what? The success here is I haven't put it all back on like you think. And two, I'm taking care of myself. My life is much more balanced. That's a success to me.
Absolutely.
And you have to look at it from individuals. So you can't take these things personally. Everybody has their own opinion.
Yep.
And now with all the GLP-1s and everything, which by the way was very helpful when you did your, talk on it and talking about that. And also when you brought in the physician, Dr. Ogle. And what I like about bariatric food coach, you're bringing in the state of the art, whatever's happening in bariatric, and not just about the things that we need to be doing because we're bariatric patients, but here are some other things coming up, and you may be one of those people that is interested in this. And I am. So I appreciate that, Steph. And I
Well, you've
want you
been
to
with me. You
continue
would
that.
now. If I
I
start doing
no,
this
I've gone all the way with you, or even before you did your first cookbook.
now,
We're
just
talking.
repeating the same things, you would be the one to know it.
Well, we've just been through the ropes together, but all good.
Yeah.
And I might tell you, eventually after about the fourth year, I ended up having to change healthcare, insurances. And that has been a real wild awakening because the new healthcare system says, well, no, you're a bariatric patient, but you don't need to go back to anybody in bariatric, like bariatric dietitian. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I need a refresher. I'd like to talk to somebody, and so you start running into those kinds of roadblocks. And so with bariatric food coach, it's been helpful to me because I can go to you or I can go to, your website for resources. And that's very, very helpful because there's no book, there's no body, to go to. And frankly, our primary healthcare system, they don't even know. Most of them, I mean, that you should be following people for, blood work for vitamins, all of that. I mean, it's amazing. They don't have that education, but they don't. So you have to be your own advocate.
A lot of DIY anymore, right? Like there's so many different
Truly,
specialties
truly.
and subspecialties, and so and you're like, well, which one do I need and who do I go to? And then if you have an access issue because of insurance and who they dictate who you can and can't go to,
That's
and then
right.
you're
Yeah,
trying to find all this stuff on your own, and
it's
yeah,
daunting.
it's very daunting. Even in my profession, I've been. It's very enjoyable for me to see how dietitians in our governing body they are keeping up with obesity medicine and what we can be doing to make sure that we don't get left behind because
Yes.
there's a lot of things that dietitians have done for decades and decades that need to be put to rest.
Yes, yes.
So
Well, that's the way it is in any profession.
right, right.
Times
So
change.
thankfully we're getting there too to make sure, are we moving ahead and moving forward with the best care that's comprehensive and patient based and
Yeah,
even with counseling skills, hopefully long gone are the days where we just hand you a calorie based meal plan that, because there's research that says if I tell you what your goals are, it's not as effective as if I can ask you questions that help you identify
yes.
your own goals. So
Makes sense.
it makes sense, right?
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
like, Steph, these are the goals I have for myself, and I say, let's do it, that is going to have a lot more weight to it than if I'm like, here's your goals, Nancy, good luck.
Right. And you can coach us on how realistic they are and
Sure.
are they measurable and that kind of thing. And that's good because sometimes we get, thinking to ourselves, well, I just want to, lose 10 pounds. Well, and you got to have a plan. And what's that little baby step plan? And frankly, Steph, I change my goals all the time. And with your challenges and stuff, I change them. Actually, I like that because it challenges you and you don't get stuck in a rut.
Hmm.
And I think with all of this, it's super important that you don't get stuck in a rut. You get yourself out and you try new things. And even though sometimes you're resistant to doing it, maybe you try it
I
and you
love
start to see and it doesn't always work, but okay. Just like recipes. Sometimes I cook things and things work out. My husband's lived through some disasters too. There's always a frozen
it.
pizza.
You're going to get another chance another day, right?
Exactly.
Okay, well, on that note, we'll end on a bonus question here. Do you have a favorite bariatric food coach recipe or resource?
Well, I would say, the resource would definitely be a couple of things. Your cheat sheet that you developed early on with, all the ideas in proteins and, and all the different things. Because sometimes we just get so stuck and we don't think that we can think up any of this stuff, but it kind of triggers you. That plus, I would say your pillars, some of your resources where I could go back. Believe it or not, I do go back and review some of that. um, Regaining one, I love that one. Your GLP one, I love your habits, the habit one, and the challenge for that. And I do that every time you do it, even though, some people go, Nancy, you're 11 years out. Why would you do that? Guess what? You do need to do it. And, for different reasons, all of us. So I would say those are some of the critical things. But you also keep me on track with what is this important to me, and with your talking to us, your weekly, newsletters that come out with new recipes. New recipe wise, I try things occasionally, but I will tell you one of my, I like your stoops,
Uh-huh.
especially in the winter and the fall. I like your barbecue recipes. I like your Mediterranean and Italian because I can incorporate those things in my family as well. And that is a challenge at times because my family eats some things differently than I do. But I'm not cooking two different meals. I've made that pretty clear in my house.
I'm not gonna do. Right. I'm
Right.
so
I mean, you're lucky to have it on the table. So, I think you have a wealth of resources on your website. Anybody who's a bariatric patient should look at that. It Some of it won't apply to some people, but most of it will. And it's worth looking at or re-looking at because there are times you just need to be reassured, okay, I am doing this the way I should. Or a question comes up, which you and I have had emails go back and forth where I've had a question and I've sent it to you and you get right back to me. You're reliable, your follow throughs there, your communication's there. And that to me is very valuable. And you're a very, very trustworthy. Whatever you're saying, I trust. And I wouldn't say that to many people because I truly believe when you're a bariatric patient, you want people you can trust telling you, you know. I don't want somebody who just says, well, I think. That's not going to be very helpful to me. I'm an evidence based nurse. And so
sure
you
are.
can't get
Right.
that out of me. Once a nurse, always a nurse.
That's
But
right.
anyway, that's a long-winded answer. But
That was a beautiful answer. I was soaking it
and
up. Thank
I'm very, very lucky as a bariatric patient to have stumbled upon your website when you first started 10 years ago. It has made a huge difference and it continues to. And I would say to anybody who's considering this type of surgery or has a weight issue to come to your website or come to you because you're going to need it.
you.
The pre-op period is one thing and afterwards is a whole nother ball of wax. And you need the resources to hang on to keep going some days. Not always, but you know, but you
Yeah.
also remind us of our successes and that we can do this. And there are those days where we do have doubt. We just do. And I don't know. It's just what it is. I think that's human. You know.
I don't think there's a whole lot more I can add. That was so beautiful. It's like, when I first decided to go online, it was just because I love my job so much that I wish I could help my patients more in between our visits. I'm
Mhm.
like a 30-minute visit just wasn't enough. I knew that they needed something, but between when they saw me this time and the next time.
Yep.
And so I feel like everything you've touched on, like, it really speaks to my heart because I'm like, that was the whole vision in trying to go online and bring resources online. And so I'm so grateful that you did find me 10 years ago, and
Me too.
and
Me
we're
too.
we're going to keep going. We're not going anywhere.
Absolutely. You're not going to get rid of me. No way. No way. And anyone who ever has a question, about all this, feel free to just send them my way. I'm happy to listen to their story. I don't have all the answers. I'm not perfect.
Right.
I'm struggled just like everybody else does, but it's making a balance for yourself and knowing you're doing the right thing for yourself. And that is taking care of yourself. And you promote that beautifully. We want that to be in our lives.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Welcome. It's been a pleasure. You take care. Have a
Too.
good. Bye bye.